Perhaps one of the most prominent and oldest civilizations is Mesopotamia. Ancient civilizations derive their origins on the banks of rivers. The Euphrates River is one of the oldest rivers known to mankind, not only because it is the center of life for that region, but also because of its historical significance, where the most famous epic in history took place, the Epic of Karbala, where the grandson of the Prophet Hussein forbade drinking water and slaughtered thirsty near the Euphrates. Therefore, the Euphrates is not just a flowing river, but rather than a witness to the injustice of man in the purest meanings. When I reached Fredericton, the St. John River drew me in. Memories of the Euphrates swept me. Whenever I miss the Euphrates and my loved ones, I go to St. John River and write a letter loaded with my longings and wishes, because I am sure that rivers are connected despite their geographical distance, as we humans are connected in many ways despite our differences. My name is Widad. It's an Arabic name that means love. I was born in Iraq, my homeland. We were from the south, which is mainly of Shia Muslims. My father Ali was the third born after two sisters, and overall his family was made of 8 girls and 3 boys. My grandfather had a low income and a big family. So my father, at the age of 10, left school and started working at an early age. Father struggled a lot in life. He worked at the bazaar and he made himself from zero. After many years of working day and night, he had his own business and bought some properties. He used to travel a lot. Then in 1979, Saddam began his rule of Iraq, and his dictatorship took over all our properties and businesses. First, he deported many Shia families to Iran. Then he brutally massacred many Shia scholars and families in his regime. The Ba'ath regime sent soldiers and took my father with rifles. They handcuffed him and put him in prison. My father, by miracle, was able to pay the soldiers some money, and in less than 24 hours he escaped prison and fled Iraq the same day. My mom and dad were crying when they left Iraq and all loved ones. Our family, parents, and 4 siblings left empty-handed, escaping execution. We went to Dubai, where my father started from zero again. He was a man of dignity. He never showed his weakness to anybody. He worked day and night, and he built his own business in Dubai. Me and my siblings attended schools in Dubai. Dubai is a cosmopolitan city. It's 2 hours by plane from Iraq. My mom and dad remembered Iraq every day with their eyes full of tears. When my father was dying in 1999, his only wish was that we take his body to Najaf, the holy city, and bury his body there. We respected his wish, even it was so difficult and costly. Iraq was under sanctions at that time. There was no direct flight to Baghdad. My brothers flew to Jordan and took his body in Jordan. Some relatives took his body to Iraq because my brothers couldn't enter Iraq due to the dictator's regime. which would either put them in prison or send them to compulsory military services. It was so painful that none of us could accompany him, none of his children or my own. Were even at his funeral. This fact was the most heartbreaking for all of us. In 2003, when the dictator's regime fell, we were watching TV and we still remember that scene when the statue of the idol was falling and the man was hitting it with a slipper. Our eyes were full of joyful tears. We never imagined that day would come. I still remember that moment when my mom grabbed my father's photo and talked to him. I wish you were alive to see the justice of God and the fall of the dictator who destroyed our dreams of living in our homeland in peace and harmony. It was in 2003, the new war in Iraq had begun, or as we call it, the Bush Jr. War. So Baghdad was under attack, and during that time, I was living in Dubai. One day I went with my mom to this shop to order new curtains for our new home. Meanwhile, the manager was calling his mom. He was saying, "Mom, are you okay? Is there any bombs near our house?" Then when he finished his call, he told my mom that I was worried about my family in Baghdad. My mom asked him, "What's the name of your family?" When he mentioned his family's name, my mom replied that family of my in-laws had a neighbor wall to wall with the same name of his family. They have two daughters named Halima and Saadiya. That man shouted, "These are my mom and my auntie's names." Directly he called his mom. He said, "Mom, I met your old neighbors here." So his mom talked to my mom and they were happy to talk after long time. His mom asked my mom, "Do you have a daughter? Because my son is alone and I wish he marries someone I know." My mom replied, "Yes, I have my daughter." This was qismat, destiny, to meet and marry during wartime, because life goes on. As an Iraqi, our lives are always related to wars. Wars that we never choose but were imposed on us by the greater powers, just because we have rich resources of oil, minerals, and strategic location. Unfortunately, the people of Iraq never enjoyed these resources. Otherwise, they were a curse on them because they attracted the greedy powers to get advantage of them. And life goes on. In 2003, I got married in Dubai. We have two children, our daughter Batul and son Muhammad Ali. In July 2013, we had to leave Dubai and our extended family, our memories and our loved ones, and start a new life in Canada. Why we decided to immigrate to Canada? As a result of Iraq being a war zone since 1980, the Iraqi passport holders were treated unfairly in the airports and sometimes humiliated. So we decided to apply for immigration to Canada as business nominee, PMP, in order to get Canadian citizenship and give a better life for our children. I still remember that moment when I held my mom's hand and my eyes were full of tears. She told me, "Please stay, don't go and leave me." I begged her, "Mom, please don't make it harder on me. Pray for me, wish me a good luck." I hate goodbye moments. When we were on the plane, I had mixed feelings of everything: fear, sadness, sorrow, worries, and much more. When the plane took off, I was crying and watching my family's house from the plane window. When it took off, I realized that it wasn't a joke. I have to be realistic and accept that we were leaving everything behind. I said goodbye to Dubai and my family and prayed to see them back as soon as possible. It was a direct flight from Dubai to Toronto. We crossed the Atlantic Ocean. I was wondering where Canada was. Why is it so far? I saw the sunrise and sunshine a couple of times, and we were still in the sky. Finally, after 14 hours, in a small seat on the plane, we landed in the unknown land where we know nobody. At the airport, we still had a connecting flight to Fredericton, so we waited for another 7 hours. We were fully exhausted, especially the kids. My only wish was to go to bed. By 1 a.m., we landed in Fredericton. It was dark and we were extremely tired. We went to the hotel, and the next day it was a new beginning and a new chapter in our lives. Good morning, Fredericton. We arrived in Fredericton after midnight. We went to the hotel, and in the morning I opened the window of my room. I saw Greenland with lake view. I heard singing birds, and weather was fantastic. For a moment, I thought it was July and must be hot and humid like Dubai. Then I remembered, this is Canada. I am near the North Pole, not in the Arabian Peninsula anymore. My first thing to do was to connect to the Wi-Fi. I called my mom on Skype and told her, Mom, don't worry, we are okay now. I am a brave girl. I'm not a kid anymore. I can manage. Don't worry, Mom. I just need your prayers and blessings. My mom tried to put a smile on her face and hide her tears from me. I guess that's life. We rented a car and started exploring the area. We were amazed by the beautiful nature and the lovely weather. I wished at that moment that my mom and all my siblings were with me, but unfortunately, they were thousands of miles away. First, we went to the Multicultural Association for guidance. Then, we went to Service Canada to get our SIM card and Medicare cards. We Googled many ads to find a suitable apartment because the hotels were expensive and we wanted to settle down. What helped us most was that we had a good level of English, plus we lived in the smartphone era. Everything we wanted, we asked Mr. Google. So we rented an apartment within 1 week, although I wasn't convinced by it that much. But we wanted to settle down, especially since it was now the month of Ramadan. And we were fasting in July. The days were long, and I needed to cook our traditional dishes, so we settled for the apartment. In September, we enrolled our children in schools. The school system in Canada was based on year of birth, so my children repeated their previous grade level due to age code. I was upset by that. I went to the school district and principal, but they insisted on them repeating their last year's classes. But I accepted it, even though I thought it was unfair. By September, my children went to school and I went to the Multicultural Association's English class level 4-5 advanced. Life goes on with daily routine base. I visited my family a few times. The last time was in 2015. I went for my one and only sister's wedding. It's now more than 4 years and I haven't been to Dubai. My first niece that I know through video calls. Living far away from your family has its advantages and disadvantages. I became more independent, more exposed to many cultures and diversity. I'm against the theory that a fish dies when it leaves its waters. I can adjust and adapt to whatever place I am in. I think flexibility is in one's hands. If you are willing to do so, nothing is impossible. I try to keep myself busy all the time rather than sitting in a corner of my house and crying and remembering. I don't want to waste my time in sadness and isolation. I want to interact and learn. The first few months I worked on getting my driver's license. I volunteered in few places. I always enroll my children in sports such as swimming, skiing, ice hockey, and many school activities. I went through many difficult times. I cried alone, suffered alone, even laughed alone. I have to be brave. I have no extended family here. I am everything to my children. I can't even be sick for one day because nobody will look after them. When you feel you are the only source for your children, that makes a lot of stress besides being away from your loved ones. Another challenge that I am struggling hard to keep is our mother tongue, Arabic. I try to teach my children every day how to read and write, but my children don't take their mom seriously. I try as much as I can to let them connect to their homeland, Iraq, and to their extended family in Dubai and Iraq. I want them to keep their Arabic identity beside their Canadian one. I want them to be proud of their mixed cultures and interact with all the communities and set good examples whenever they go. I want them to be proud of their uniqueness, to interact and not dissolve, to keep their Middle Eastern identity and be their own version, not a copy-paste of others. I want them to carry the characteristics of a good human being. I hope one day they can be Canada's ambassador in Iraq or do relations for Canada with Iraq and the Middle East and the Arab world. At the end, we are all stories to tell and memories to be remembered.